The rain fell like it was trying to erase the city, blurring the streets of Cleveland, Ohio, and washing regret into every gutter. On a cold church step sat a man whose laughter had long ago learned how to sound cruel, because cruelty felt safer than hope. His coat was torn, his hands shook, and his eyes carried the weight of years spent running from God, from people, and from himself. When a small shadow stopped in front of him that afternoon, he had no idea that his life was about to break open in the quietest, most unexpected way. Before the story pulls you deeper, pause for a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and small acts that change lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still hurting. The man's name was Marcus Holloway, once a construction foreman, once a husband, once a father who used to pray over dinner without embarrassment. Years earlier, a highway accident had taken his wife Rebecca and their unborn child. The steering wheel survived, the metal survived, Marcus survived, but something inside him collapsed that night and never stood back up. He blamed God with a bitterness so sharp it became part of his voice. Churches became places he mocked, not because he was strong, but because walking past them reminded him of who he used to be. Marcus drifted from job to job until even his anger couldn't hide the drinking anymore. When the layoffs came, no one fought to keep him. His apartment went next, then his pride. By winter, the steps of an old brick church downtown became his shelter. He chose it out of irony, sleeping beneath a stained glass window that showed a man carrying a cross, a picture Marcus once believed in and now laughed at whenever he noticed it watching him. That afternoon, the rain soaked through his shoes, and Marcus laughed again, quietly, bitterly, at the idea that anyone still prayed in a world like this. That was when he noticed a little boy standing a few feet away, holding a paper bag to keep it dry. The boy couldn't have been older than 8. His hair was neatly combed, his jacket too big, clearly borrowed from someone who loved him. Marcus smirked, expecting the child to run off or stare like most people did. Instead, the boy stepped closer. The child's name was Noah Peterson, and he had been sent by his grandmother to drop off soup for the church pantry. Noah had a habit of noticing people others tried not to see. He noticed the shaking hands, the wet shoes, and the way Marcus laughed like someone pretending not to hurt. Something in Noah's chest felt heavy, the way it did when his grandmother talked about prayer being something you offered, not something you forced. Marcus felt a small hand rest gently on his sleeve. It wasn't aggressive or afraid. It was careful, like touching something fragile. The man laughed again, sharper this time, shaking his head at the absurdity of it all. A child, rain, a church, a ruined man. But the boy didn't pull away. Noah looked up at Marcus with eyes that didn't carry judgment or fear. They carried concern, pure and uncomplicated. He tilted his head slightly, studying Marcus as if he mattered. The rain slowed to a mist, and the noise of the city faded into something distant. Marcus felt irritation rise, followed by something worse. Memories. A little girl he never got to hold. A bedtime prayer he used to whisper. The boy's hand moved from Marcus's sleeve to his trembling wrist, warm and steady. The touch wasn't dramatic. It didn't demand anything. It simply stayed. In that moment, something cracked. Marcus felt the laughter die in his throat, replaced by a pressure behind his eyes that he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. The boy's presence dismantled every defense Marcus had built. This child wasn't trying to fix him. He wasn't arguing about God. He was just there, offering comfort in the simplest form. Noah bowed his head slightly, right there on the wet sidewalk, his small hand still resting on Marcus's arm. Marcus didn't hear words, but he felt intention, the kind that comes from belief without conditions. The stained glass window above them glowed faintly as the clouds shifted, casting color across the steps. Marcus's shoulders began to shake. At first he tried to stop it, embarrassed by the sob that rose from somewhere deep in his chest. But the tears came anyway, heavy and uncontrollable, washing years of anger down his face. He cried for Rebecca. He cried for the child he never met. He cried for every night he cursed God instead of grieving. He cried because, for the first time in a long time, someone saw him as more than a broken man on church steps. Noah didn't flinch. He didn't move away. He stayed until Marcus's breathing slowed, until the shaking eased. The boy then gently let go, placed the paper bag beside Marcus, and walked toward the church doors, glancing back once with a small, hopeful smile. Marcus sat there long after Noah disappeared inside. The rain stopped completely. The streetlights flickered on, and the city breathed around him. Marcus opened the bag to find warm soup and a small folded napkin with a simple cross drawn in blue ink. Something inside him shifted, not into certainty, but into possibility. That night, Marcus didn't drink. He slept under the church awning, holding the empty soup container like it mattered. In the days that followed, he found himself sitting closer to the doors, then inside during services, always at the back. He didn't sing, he didn't bow, but he listened. Weeks later, Marcus volunteered to clean the steps. Months later, he found work with a local repair crew from the church. He still carried grief, but it no longer owned him. Every time doubt returned, he remembered the warmth of a child's hand and the way it broke through his bitterness without a single argument. Near the end of this story, take a moment with your heart. If this journey moved you, if it reminded you that small acts can heal deep wounds, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your interaction helps spread stories of hope to people who may be sitting on their own cold steps right now. Before the ending, here is a special request. Comment, "I believe in second chances" if this story touched you in any way. One Sunday morning, Marcus stood outside the church, watching families arrive. Noah passed by with his grandmother, older now, still observant. Their eyes met, and Marcus placed a hand over his heart in silent gratitude. No words were needed, because sometimes faith doesn't return through sermons or miracles. Sometimes it comes through a child who dares to care, a simple touch, and a prayer offered without fear. And sometimes the man who once laughed at God finds himself crying, not from pain but from the overwhelming grace of being seen.